Hi, so we are back after chatting about ordering seeds. It's probably going to take you a little while to get them, but if you've gone to a store and gotten some packs of seeds already, then you can follow along on that. Otherwise, just save this video for when your seeds come in. What you want to do is you want to figure out your frost dates. So if you go in, you can just go into Google and type in first and last frost dates, or just frost dates and your zip code, and it will pull up what your last frost date is and what your first frost date is. These dates are important for your annuals. Those are your plants that you plant, new plants every year. So like your tomatoes, some herbs are perennials. Perennials are plants that you plant once and they come back. So think certain types of flowers, some herbs like rosemary is a perennial in some zones, and other zones it is an annual. Oregano, thyme, parsley, sage, all of those are perennials. They should come back the following year. So your frost dates are going to be the important key here. Zones are mostly important, like I said, for perennials. So don't stress too much about your zone. That really just tells you what your lowest frost or your lowest freezing temperature, is annually. So that's, like I said, that's more important for whenever you're planting perennials. If you also go into almanac.com, the Farmer's Almanac website, and go into the gardening tab and then click planting dates by zip code, you can put your zip code in there and that will pull up a list of different plants, herbs, veggies, flowers, whatever, and it will tell you exactly in that list when to start them by seed, when to direct sow them or to transplant them out into your garden, when's the last date that you could possibly plant in order to get a crop for that growing season. So that's a really good resource for helping you kind of plan out. So my last frost date is April the 9th. My first frost date is October 31st. Now that just means that I have a 30% chance of the frost coming on the last frost occurring on April 9th and my first frost occurring on October 31st. More often than not, I see frost happening after my last frost date, after my first frost date. Sometimes it happens before those dates. So it's really important to follow your 10-day forecast and to understand that if you plant things out based off of your frost dates, you may end up having to go cover those items if you get a surprise frost. And it's easy enough to do. You could throw a sheet over it, or a cloche, or a milk jug cut off over it. You can make a wall of water where you take water bottles that are full and make a wall around your plants. So there are lots of ways to kind of protect your plants from those surprise frosts. But the general rule of thumb for most people in areas that receive freezing temperatures, is to save your tender plants for Mother's Day. I like to live on the edge. Sometimes it doesn't matter. Sometimes you can plant something. I can plant it in April, and then I can plant it again in May, and they're going to grow at the same rate because your soil temperature and your air temperature matter. But I also try to think about how busy am I going to be during the Mother's Day time of the year. So like I said, I'm okay with going out and covering some things, but other things I'll definitely wait. So as of right now, with my last frost date being April the 9th, I'm looking at 12 weeks out would have been January the 15th. So I've already passed that. Not a big deal. 10 weeks out is January 29th. 8 weeks is February 12th, and 6 weeks is February 26th. So if I am starting seeds based upon my last frost date of April the 9th, these are the dates that I'm looking at when I'm planning when to start certain seeds. So most of the time you'll have that instruction on the back of your seed packet, like this one says to start, and this is going to be backwards, so I'm sorry. Start indoors 8 to 10 weeks before last frost. This is This is lavender. So this one actually says to start indoors, cold stratify, wow, can't talk today, stratify 8 to 12 weeks before last frost. So some herbs and plants, you'll find this instruction to cold stratify. What this means is you're going to take your seeds, you're going to put them on a damp paper towel, fold that paper towel on top of the seeds, and then stick it in a plastic baggie and put it in your fridge for the determined amount of time. After that time, you then transfer those into your seed starting mix and go on business as usual. But these require a period of cold in order for them to germinate. Your super hot peppers are going to really need 10 to 12 weeks of a starting point. Sweet peppers are usually 6 to 8 weeks. Tomatoes are usually 6 to 8 weeks. So that's what I'm keeping in mind when I'm planning ahead for when to start my seeds indoors is what am I planting? What are those requirements to get going? And when do I need to start those? You also will have some things that you don't need to start indoors. Peas, beans, squash, melons, most of those, they germinate so quickly and they'll grow so quickly that you don't need to start them indoors. You can just stick them right out in your soil when the time comes. And they're generally healthier for it. Some plants really don't like to have their roots disturbed. So I will take like these purple whole peas, which are a favorite of mine. I got these from the Southern Exposure Seed Exchange, which is one of those companies that I talked about the other day. And they're so hard to find. Like you can't, like I can't go anywhere where I live and get like purple Hulk peas. So when I go home to Arkansas in the summertime, I usually like stock up on bags of them at the farmer's market and bring them back here. So it's super awesome that I can grow these now, but I've gone off on a tangent. So these I will just stick right in the soil after my last frost. The spinach, you can start this indoors. I find it's just as easy to throw this out in the garden once the soil is workable. It'll tell you to direct sow after the last frost date. Don't wait that long because spinach bolts really fast, and if you wait until after your last frost, then you very well be too far into the warming season, and this will come up and it will bolt within just a couple of weeks, and then it's just so much effort and time and seed for nothing. So I always start this as soon as my soil is workable. This goes out with my greens, my lettuces. I don't tend to grow heading brassicas like cabbages and broccoli and cauliflower in the spring because of the same reason. It gets so warm so quickly it will bolt. But I do other brassicas, collard greens, mustard greens, stuff like that. It doesn't require a head, it just leaves out, and that will generally have enough time to get going before it gets so warm. So I'm gonna stop here because I am already at 8.5 minutes. These are really hard videos to do for TikTok. I really think I'm gonna have to move a lot of this content over to YouTube because I think that it's gonna be a lot easier to get this information across. But if you have any questions about seed starting, please don't hesitate to ask. I will go into a little bit more depth over the course of some other videos just because it's so much to talk about in this little bit of time that I have on this platform. So anyway, have a good day.